Video games offer such a unique method of consuming a piece of media with their interactiveness. They allow the player to really step into whatever world they're going into and fully immerse themselves. Sure, an action movie can show this super awesome hero dude running around and shooting everyone, but video games allow you to become that hero dude and lets you do the shooting. It's this level of interaction that really makes video games stick with you like nothing else. Yeah, of course, books, movies, TV shows can stick with you and impact you, but I find myself looking back at summers I spent playing Dragon Ball, Budokai Tenkaichi 2, Lego Star Wars, Mario Galaxy, Street Fighter with my cousins way more fondly than I would looking back at movies I watched then. But maybe that's just me. Video games have always and will always be part of my life, but in this video I want to highlight 6 of the most impactful video games that I feel like shaped me and my taste for video games. And please, let this video serve as a forum of sorts, where you comment what your most impactful video games are and we can all share this little nostalgia trip down memory lane together. Oh, and I will say that this list is ordered in the time that I played them. So for example, the first game on this list is I played it when I was like younger, and then the last game is when I was older. It's not like a ranking of like best or anything. You get it, okay? All right. If you want to talk about video games with me at all, much like Rome, all roads will lead back to Pokemon. If we want to talk about franchises that define you, I mean, man, this is it for me. I absolutely adore Pokemon, the world, and everything. I probably have more knowledge about Pokemon than I do about myself at this point. I just love it. And the game that started off for me was Pokemon Pearl. Although I have gone back and played every single one of the Pokemon games prior to the 4th generation, this is the game of my childhood, the one that really introduced me into the world of Pokemon and RPGs in general. I must have been 4 or 5 years old playing through this game with the help of my cousin, and I remember being absolutely addicted. Even though I'm pretty sure I didn't even know what I was doing, I was definitely one of those kids that stuck with their starter and only their starter. My starter of choice being my GOAT, Turtwig, and to this day he's my #1 pick for Gen 4. So I think by the end of my journey I had a super beefed up level 80 Torterra and like 3 Shinx that were level 5, but man, I had so much fun, so who cares? And although Pokemon Pearl was my first introduction to the Pokemon world and the series, I'm kind of cheating here by putting 2 games in one spot, but the game that really immersed me in the Pokemon world was Pokemon Heart Gold. See, I played Pearl on a borrowed copy on a borrowed DS, but once I got around to playing Pokemon Heart Gold, it was my own copy and my own DS, and I can tell you I was glued to my DS for a few months with this game. There's not much I can say about these masterpieces of games that haven't been said already, but Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are absolute titan, content-filled Pokemon RPGs that to this day hold up as some of the series' best. I was a bit older when I finally got around to Heart Gold, around the 4th or 5th grade, so I had a little more brain power to actually process what I was doing. I chose Totodile as my starter and I set off on a journey. I think I had a decent enough team this time around, but the levels were definitely favoring Feraligatr. But I did remember having a super cracked ferret that I remember naming Pinsel because I caught it in class. This game really changed the course of my life with video games. I look back at my favorite genre, being JRPGs, and how I really owe that to Pokemon, and more specifically to Heart Gold. Pokemon really was my gateway drug into the world of JRPGs, and an experience that I'll never forget.
With no rules to follow, this adventure, it's up to you.
This next game is a game I think I'm not alone in. A lot of you probably have it on your list as well, and that's for a good reason. I mean, is there a more generation-defining game than this one? A game a lot of, if not most of us watching this video have played at some point and have even obsessed over? I'm talking, of course, about the beautiful, timeless Minecraft. I still look back at when I first heard the term Minecraft. I overheard some kids talk about it while I was sitting down waiting for my mom to get her haircut. And they were talking about this computer game called Minecraft and how it's Legos but on the computer, and it has monsters and crafting. And I wasn't even a big fan of Legos or anything, but I do remember being very intrigued by this, and I went home, but got on the family computer and typed in Minecraft, and sure enough the game was there, but it was like $25, so that wasn't happening. But luckily there was an in-browser tutorial that I absolutely grinded until I got my hands onto the full game. From there on it was over. I mean, I played the living hell out of Minecraft, and much like Pokemon, it is a game that I often find myself revisiting. Minecraft really introduced me to games on PC. Up until that point, I only ever really played like Flash games and stuff like that, but this is the first game that I really properly played on a PC. And Minecraft for me was a game that I would wake up as early as possible before school to play, and then think about it all day in school, not even pay attention in class, and then rush home and play as soon as I could. It really took over part of my childhood, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It really is a gem of a game. This game, however, did something else for me outside of the game itself. This game really introduced me to the world of YouTube content. Of course, at this point, I had used YouTube to watch like funny videos or YouTube poop, but I had never really watched like actual content or YouTubers. I remember fondly the first Let's Play I ever watched was C9er's Minecraft Let's Play, and I was absolutely shocked by this. I don't know what it was about hearing a funny guy play and show Minecraft that just flipped a switch in my head, but by that point I was hooked. I remember watching greats like Ant Venom and Captain Sparkles, and this was the first game that led me into what I love now, which is YouTube content. I myself would make countless Let's Plays of my own using my mom's old camera pointing at the computer, but I never uploaded them or anything, and they're definitely in the void. Minecraft is such a beautiful, addicting game that still gets played to this day, and it's definitely deserving a spot on this list. Now this game is a bit of an odd choice, but not because it's some sort of obscure game or anything like that. It's because when I played it and how I played it. I think most people that view this game with very nostalgic lenses played this game on its original hardware when they were kids back in 1997. But I played this game on my Switch in 2019. Of course, I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII. Now, going into this game, I had bought it for like $5 or something while it was on sale with leftover eShop credit, and I didn't think much of it. But I was bored one day, so I booted it up, and from there I couldn't stop. It became something bigger than I thought it would ever become. See, at this point, I knew I loved JRPGs. I loved the world and the turn-based battles and all that, but this is the first game I can think of that really made me realize that video games have some of the best stories in any form of media. I was playing this game not for the gameplay, even though it was pretty good still, it was for the storytelling. I wanted to know what was going to happen, and it kept me intrigued. Even though everything about this game seems dated, the story is timeless. Except the music. The music still goes crazy, but the line would have been way less cool if I said everything but the music. Anyways, I remember ditching my tech theater class, and this class was like a behind the scenes of a play sort of class, and just sitting in the backstage playing this game, and it almost became a routine for me. Get to class, whip out the Switch, and start playing. When it was all over, I had grinded to beat Emerald Weapon, which if you haven't done that, it's just one of the hardest bosses in any game I've ever played in my life. And I've spent around maybe 200 hours with Final Fantasy VII, and when I was finally done, it had become, and it still is, my favorite video game of all time. Another game that I was late to the party to, and one that I wish I wasn't, but I'm glad I even played it in the first place, was another gateway game for me, and this time to the wonderful world of visual novels, a genre that I hold near and dear to my heart, and one I would say with confidence is my second favorite genre of all time. This game being Danganronpa 1 Trigger Happy Havoc. This is the first game I ever played that let the gameplay take a backseat and really focus purely on the story, and wow, what a story it is. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc is a mystery/horror-ish visual novel where a group of students that each possess a ultimate ability, which isn't anything paranormal, it's like ultimate baseball player, ultimate pop star, things like that, are trapped in a school and forced to kill each other if they want to escape by a giant talking teddy bear named Monokuma. The kids then have to undergo a trial to uncover who the killer was, or else everyone dies but the killer. It sounds kinda crazy, I know, but just think of it as anime Among Us. The writing in this game and the mystery it sets up kept me intrigued the whole way through, and I was absolutely addicted for the 30-ish hours or so that I spent with the game. This game series has 2 other games and a spin-off in the franchise, which are all very good, and I do plan on making a longer retrospective on the entire franchise at some point, so I'll hold off on any plot details of the first game, but just know that it is an absolutely amazing mystery, and it's one that I recommend, and it's like on everything. It's like on the phones, PlayStation, Xbox, computer. You can probably find it on your Samsung fridge. Just go out there and play it. You will not be disappointed. Danganronpa 1 is a beautiful, beautiful game. Now this next game is a bit of an odd choice. It is a game that not a lot of people may have heard of. It is a game that I didn't think would ever end up in this sort of list, but here it is. This game took about 5 or 6 hours of my evening almost 2 years ago, and I still think about it to this day. It was short lived, but the effect it had on me was eternal. It is a game like no other. I have never experienced a story as disturbing, as interesting, as horrifying as this, and it is a game that I think deserves its spot on this list. That game being Song of Saya. To give you a synopsis, it is about a boy that sees the world as a hellish landscape where everything he sees is covered in flesh and blood. Even his friends and family have all turned into these fleshy monsters, and right before he's about to end it all, before him appears a mysterious girl named Saya, who is the only thing that is human in this world, and she serves as the only companion of the main character. Without spoiling much, that's all I can say, but the game really dives into some disturbing territory and handles a lot of heavy topics that aren't just gore, but I mean really heavy themes and plot points. So I really recommend you looking into that if you are interested, just in case, trigger warning, but I really do recommend it for horror fans and for fans of just a good, engrossing story. This visual novel was an interesting one for me because I was not rooting for the protagonist at all, and he was designed in a way where he is not likable at all. Without spoiling much, it is clear that he is not a good person, and you slowly see him fall and descend into madness, almost like a very beautifully crafted version of the Joker. And I do want to reiterate that I do not condone the actions of the main characters in this game at all, and my enjoyment of it was more for the story, and I'm a horror fan, so it's just a very good horror disturbing tale. It's something that I've never experienced, and I like to say that it's the best game that I never want to play again. That's the best way I can describe it, but I really do recommend it for any horror fan. And there we go. That's it. We made it to the end. This list was tons of fun to make and put together, and I do think it shows my gaming journey pretty well. Of course, there are countless other games that I adore and have played, but I think these 6 games are like my core games that really stick with me the most, and the ones that represent who I am as a video game enjoyer. I definitely find myself trending towards the narrative aspect of games more and more these days, and that's my favorite part of games, living in the world amazing writers and artists have created, even for just a short moment, is such a joy, and really diving into the mind of all these creative people, and video games are such an interesting media to consume these creative writings. And with that being said, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your day to hear me ramble. My name is Spooky, and I hope we find each other again soon. Take care, everyone.